Galnet News Special, 14th of September 3307. A brief history of Onionhead. The current controversy and conflict over the proposed medical use of Onionhead by neo-medical industries is by no means the first time Onionhead has led to conflict. What is Onionhead, and why does it create such division? According to the Legalise Onionhead movement, Onionhead originally came from one of the three water worlds of HIP 55.11.8. This alien plant, with a flower and a seed head that reminded early settlers of the onion, produces in its seeds an alkaloid compound that, when processed, gives a psychoactive effect that is reported to be both pleasurable and addictive. Onionhead is not grown commercially in HIP 55.11.8, but the enterprising farmers of Panem in Kappa Fornacis managed to reproduce the growing conditions, and during 3300 developed a roaring trade selling this highly desirable drug to the youth of the Federation and Empire alike. The plant is hard to grow, and the product has a relatively short shelf life, and these issues with supply kept the price high and the profit margins healthy. In December 3300, just days before the end of the 33rd century, Federal President Jasmina Halsey, reportedly under pressure from the Federal Navy, tried to put a stop to this trade, which in her view was taking advantage of federal youth and reducing their effectiveness in the workplace. She described Onionhead as a vile substance, rotting the minds of the young people of the Federation. The Federal Navy began a campaign of aerial bombardment of the Onionhead fields. This free publicity for the drug increased demand many times over, and the reports of farmers and their families rendered homeless by repeated and indiscriminate bombing helped to make President Halsey one of the least popular federal presidents ever, and create the conditions, when Halsey went missing a few months later, for the Republicans, led by Zachary Hudson, to take over government during the summer of 3301. The bombing of Panem, first with munitions and later with biocides, led to a new strain of Onionhead being developed by the drug barons, genetically altered to survive in its new home in Tanmark. Lucan Onionhead had the same mind-altering effects as the Panem variety, and it wasn't long before Halsey had that declared illegal too. Having gained power, President Hudson seemed significantly less interested in curbing the spread of Onionhead than his predecessor. Both the original Panem Onionhead and Lucan Onionhead remained on sale, and by the start of 3302, two new strains of Onionhead, the Alpha and Beta strains, started production in Salabra and HIP 112972 respectively. All four strains were by now illegal in the Federation, Empire, and in large parts of the Alliance, but only the lack of supply held back the wider adoption of these popular drugs. The trade in Onionhead continued as a profitable business with minimal interference from law enforcement for the next 4 years, but the relatives of those bombed by Jasmina Halsey weren't the sort of people to forget. Towards the end of 3305, a terrorist group called the Scythe of Panem created a genetically modified version of the biocide that had been used against the farmers of Panem. Introducing this into a new and highly desired fertilizer, they managed to spread the blight to hundreds of agricultural worlds. The resulting famine caused political instability across the bubble and left a legacy of intermittent crop failures that are likely to last for decades. Finally, after more than 6 years of Onionhead being a rare commodity, in mid-3307 the Kumo Council, under Archon Delane, came up with a breakthrough to make Onionhead available in large quantities to all who want it. It claimed that space dredger crew, the Blue Viper Club, invented the new cultivar, which can be grown in artificial environments and which produces a product that can be stored and transported without a need for specialist refrigerators. A surprisingly muted response led to the new Onionhead Gamma strain being made available in a small number of industrial anarchies for recreational use, although the Kumo crew repeatedly claimed that the drug, which they refer to as Helix, has medicinal uses. Archon Delane must have been as surprised as anyone when the Interstellar Health Organization conducted tests on the gamma strain and found that it does indeed have therapeutic benefits. As a result of this, and without consulting the Kumo Council, pharmaceutical giant Neo Medical Industries decided to start marketing the drug for medicinal use in those independent and alliance systems where it is not banned. They're planning to make the drug available over the counter in about 15% of the industrial systems which have not made it illegal. It was only after Neo Medical had started building the manufacturing lines that Archon Delane decided to use force to stop what he sees as the theft of his product. Attacking Neo Medical's agent in Hythis, his campaign has been disastrously poorly supported, with the vast majority of combatants supporting the right of Neo Medical to distribute a drug that, 7 years after it first became available, now has a legitimate use outside of recreation. However, there seems little prospect that either the Emperor or the President who came to power, at least partly due to popular sympathy for the plight of the Onionhead farmers, will declare Onionhead legal anytime soon.